Looks like we're hearing something there. Hello, everybody. Hello, composers. Glad you are joining us today. Sound looks good. Everybody looks good. Eric, playing live. Yeah, that's gonna kind of be my new opening, I think. Just gonna play a little bit when I start these things, just to make sure there's good sound. Just make sure it's a little jazzy version of We Wish You a Merry Little Christmas. I'll be playing that a little later in the music reviews, along with about 4 other people's songs, 3 or 4 other people's songs. But we've got a lot to talk about today on Hello Composers. Thanks for joining us today. Glad you're here. Welcome to the second of our Christmas episodes where we'll be reviewing Christmas. You can see it's starting to look a little bit like Christmas back here. Beethoven is in the forest, the Christmas forest. And so starting to look a little like, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. So we'll see what it looks like there. Hopefully my video is looking good. It doesn't look that great on my screen, but that's just because maybe I'm looking at it in a different way, but it looks a little fuzzy. Tell me if it looks fuzzy to you guys. So really happy to be here with you guys today. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff. We're going to be talking about quite a few things, and I'll just look at my audio. Everything looks good here. 1080. Yeah, it looks as good as I can look. So hopefully it looks good to you guys. Might be on my end a little video quality blurry. Yeah, I'm seeing that myself. Don't know why. I can add a little light, see if that helps. Put a little light on the subject and see if that helps at all. It looks clear on my screen, but not in the could be just an internet connection or something for now, but we will continue to work on that. Hope everybody is doing well. Let's get to the notes in the show today, because I'm going to talk about several things today, but the main thing I'm going to talk about is how composing brought me back to or how music licensing brought me back to composing. And I'm going to talk about a lot of those things, and hopefully the screen will clear up here in a minute. I'm not getting a very good broadcast right now, it doesn't look like, but I'm not sure what is up with StreamYard. I will just and then add myself back in and see if that helps at all. There's always technical issues sometimes dealing with these things, but hope you are having a good day today. Let's see who's in the house today. We've got Linda, thank you for being here. Jane, N is here. We're going to listen to some of N's music here in a little while. Daydreams in the house. Isomatic in the house. Thanks for being here. RGS Music Production, thanks for being here. Glad you are here today and joining us. Shane is here. Everybody, Pixelated, yeah, Minecraft, yeah. That looks a little better now. Looks like it might be clearing up now. So that looks good. So, hey, everybody, how are you doing? Have you had a good week as composers? Have you composed anything new? Would love to hear if you have composed anything. I think that's one of the main things that I want to stress on this channel is just composer mindset, what it's like to be a composer, and those weeks when you don't compose anything or arrange anything, and how that feels, which is not great sometimes. So anyway, I do want to talk about a few things today. Most of you on this channel already know about licensing, but some of you who are watching this may not know so much about it. Maybe it's not such an obvious thing to you, and maybe you are just tuning into the channel for the first time and saying, what is this composers channel? Hello Composers channel, what is going on? So if you are a composer, or if you are a songwriter and you are looking for another road other than just composing songs and maybe making songs and putting them out to Spotify or whatever, today I want to talk about licensing and why it is an excellent way for you to, you know what, it could just bring you and give you a new reason to compose. And to me, that is a very important thing. maybe like me, you completely lost your way as a composer for whatever reason. You've been looking for a way back to making and writing songs, or a new season maybe in your life of being a composer. Well, that's what I want to talk about today. You know, probably in your heart that the your first best destiny is as a songwriter, as a composer, an arranger. I know that for me, that's been the way it's been since I was 13 years old. So in this video, I'm going to talk about specifically sync licensing, but generally licensing, and I may touch on stock licensing and even sheet music sales and all of these things that have been affecting my monthly income, but more importantly, most importantly, bringing me back to composing, and in my mind at least, back to being a full-time composer. And I'm sure all of you would love to be a full-time composer. And so that is absolutely something that I am trying to do. But anyway, let me just see who else is here. No more comments. So I'm going to move on to some of the news of the day. Well, first of all, I want to talk about the Hello Composers Mastermind. This is something that we have been, a few people are joining now. I am looking for a few more. We're going to keep this pretty small. And as for this first one, as I kind of try this on this level, I've done masterminds before about music licensing and things like that. But if you are interested in weekly 12-week course where we talk together every week, I'm looking for a few more people for my mastermind. It's a face-to-face Zoom conference that we meet every week, and then there's also three short, or I should say 3 hour-long consulting sessions with me personally as well as part of this. So it's a great way to get some help with your music catalog, to get some helpful and constructive criticism, and basically to just help each other down the road of being composers and help you down the road towards making, composing more of your life and figuring out what the next steps are for you as a composer with someone who is constantly figuring that out now. Just finished my master's in composing last year, in composition, and am continuing to grow my way from professional music producer for 20 plus years to full-time music composer and arranger. So the Hello Composers Mastermind is almost full. So if you have any interest in being part of that, then please check out Hello Composers, actually the link is, let me get back to my link here. The link is at makemusicincome.com/mastermind. And that is the link for all the masterminds. And so if you need to see that, you can go find out all the information. Hello Composers and Make Music Income, there's 2 different masterminds. The Hello Composers Mastermind is really for people who are really focusing on building catalog, building their composer life, and the Make Music Income Mastermind is absolutely about working hard to make music catalog and that kind of thing. So, all right, I want to talk about something that people have been asking me about, and people have been, did I not put a link for this? I'll have to make a link while I'm talking about it. People have been asking me if they can buy me a cup of coffee. And I didn't even know anything about this, but they were basically saying, is there a way to buy you a cup of coffee like some people have on their sites? And I'm just going to make the link right here. And you know what? There is actually. And I'm going to just put it here in this little thing here. There is a way to buy me tea if you are interested, and it is at makemusicincome.com/tea. Makemusicincome.com is still my main site, even for Hello Composers. And hey, guess what? It's even tax deductible. I am doing this through my nonprofit. You know what? I may have mentioned this on this channel or on some of my other channels, but I am thinking about doing everything through my nonprofit eventually. And so if that is something that interests you, please let me know. I have had this nonprofit, it's called Creative Heart, and it basically just supports all the things that I do. And so if you're interested in buying me a cup of tea sometime, a lovely cup of tea. You know, I don't drink coffee because coffee tastes like dirt. Actually, tea kind of tastes like dirt as well, but I just put a lot of cinnamon in mine. So if you're interested in that, please go to makemusicincome.com/tea, and you'll see the information there and how to go and give there if you like. It's 100% tax deductible, any gift of anything. So I would appreciate it if you feel like you want to do that kind of thing. Buy me a cup of tea, and we'll talk about it. All right, let's get into some news here. I just downloaded, if you're not familiar with this company, it's a new, it's not new, it's a software company that makes mostly orchestral plugins, I believe. And it's called Sonokinetic. And they have something going on right now called the 12 Days of Christmas. And every day or every other day, they are releasing a new plugin at either a cheap or a free a free price. And today's is today's was something called Vivace, and it is not bad. It's a little legacy plugin they have, and they're offering it for free. And so if you have a lot of different kinds of little free plugins, BBCSO, and maybe SAM Project Free Orchestra, this would be a great addition to it. I just downloaded it, and it sounds pretty good. And so absolutely, you may want to look into that. I'm going to see if I can clear my my picture up here a little bit. So absolutely look at that and see what you think of that. It's at sonokinetic.net, and you'll see the 12 Days of Christmas. I would recommend going and looking at that. The other piece of news I want to talk about is that BFD, which is a drumming program, BFD3 is still $49 on their site. And this, if you don't have a major drum program that is what you would consider professional drums, then you really need to look at this. It's really great. I hear a lot of people saying nice things about it, but the entire drum set, which is usually $300, I believe, the whole drum system is only $49 right now, and it comes with a free extra set that you can buy. So maybe you might want to look at that for $49 right now. It's just look at BFD drummer, just search that online and you'll find that, but still a pretty good deal. More news. My sync ebook is coming along. I worked on it yesterday. I had a few hours to really get in and work on that, and it's really coming along. And I think that you'll be very interested in that. I would highly suggest it, just because it's a really good plugin. It's going to be really good for sync, at least my history of sync licensing. I think everybody and their brother online is talking about the way to do sync licensing, and that's fine. As you know, on this channel and on all my channels, all I do is talk about the reasons and the whys and all of that of why I do what I do, and how it's worked for me and for me personally. And I think that's just important. And if you don't know how to do these things, yeah, you can buy into somebody's system. But what I'm going to be talking about in this book is not a system. It's just how I came upon licensing. It's kind of the theme of today's show, how I came upon music licensing. Let's see if I can do this here real quick. I can't. Okay. Oh well. So yeah, I would I'm very excited that this ebook's coming out, and when this ebook comes out, I'll also be offering a new updated version of the stock market, the library book that I have about how to get into stock. So, sorry, I'm trying to clean up here. I guess the signal looks okay. Probably if it's full screen, it's still a little pixelated. So sorry about that today, folks. Not sure what is up with the internet here today. But anyway, we're going to still talk about some fun things. Make sure if you have Christmas songs, send them to hellocomposers@gmail.com. You can send MP3s. Please, no links. Nothing I have to go download. Just a nice, simple MP3 and maybe the title, your full name, and why you wrote it. It's sometimes fun to know about. So please send those to me if you're interested in having your music reviewed. Like we're going to listen to some Christmas music in just a minute. Some birthdays this week, composer birthdays. Dave Brubeck's birthday was yesterday. And if you don't know Dave Brubeck, Take Five, very famous jazz song. And tomorrow's birthday is a pretty famous composer, Jean Sibelius. And the namesake of Sibelius, the music program. You don't hear much about Sibelius, the music program, anymore, as much as you hear about Finale and well, actually, I take that back. Sibelius is Avids, isn't it? And that's one I used. But Sibelius, I use that all through my writing time during my master's, and I'm so happy that I don't have to use that anymore. It's so much more fun that I don't have to sit there and put every note in because it is time consuming. Another birthday on the 10th. Tell me if you know who Alexander Courage is. Extra points in the comments if you know what composer Alexander Courage is known for. Let me know. Let's see. Linda is asking, is that a lemon in there? No. If you're talking about my tea, it's tea bags. I like tea pretty strong, and so I just leave the tea bags in. I know that is, for Brits, that is probably completely out of the question. They can't imagine that. Daydreams Studio says, I want to mention the Cinesamples still has big discounts on a lot of their products. Yes, and they have a $49 kind of orchestral 2D orchestra section thing that looks pretty interesting. Shane is in the house. Hey Shane, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Daydream says, what the hell do you do doing all that stuff? One day has 24 hours, composing music, maintain libraries, writing ebooks, teaching people, producing videos, mastermind things. Dude, do you know I spend 10 hours per weekday going to a school and teaching? So, now I do have some weekends available to me to write, and like this weekend, my wife is working all weekend, so I will be just completely pounding away on music songs and things like that. So absolutely, there's a lot going on for sure. Michael is in the house listening. Great to have you here today, Michael. We're going to listen to your song in just a moment. I think that's probably about all I had. I'm probably going to wait until I have a better signal to really get into the blog part. My goal here with this channel, and I think, is to take my Wednesday information that I talked to you about and really take it to the next level with a podcast, and probably edit out all the ums and beginning stuff and stuff that doesn't have to do with the message of the week, because this week's message is about composing and licensing and how they kind of made me come back to music, or brought me back to music composing. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But I may end up doing that on another video stream, so it's a little clearer. But I'm going to talk about it here in just a minute. But still waiting? If anybody, I know there's only 10 people in here, but if you know who Alexander Courage is and what famous, very famous piece of music that he wrote, Alexander Courage. Anybody know? Now's your time before I tell you, because I'll wait 10 seconds for someone to put a comment in the comment section if they know who Alexander Courage is or what famous piece of music he wrote. Alexander Courage. Anyone? Anyone? All right. Well, I will tell you then. Alexander Courage wrote this. Terrible version of it. Anybody? Yes, Star Trek. The original television show theme was written by Alexander Courage, and his birthday is in 3 days, on December 10th. So, can't believe no one got that. So, let's talk a little bit here about how that I got back to composing. First, let's just talk about composing. I mean, I've been a composer since I was 13 years old. My story is on my website. If you want to find out more about my backstory in general, it's at ericcopelandmusic.com. But I have a whole other videos and channels, obviously, talking about my story about sync licensing. I'm not going to tell that story right now necessarily. And I also talk, obviously, on Make Music Income about how I make income from sync licensing. I'll put some kind of playlist or some videos at the end of this video or down in the description about all those if you're interested in that. But what I want to talk about today is how music licensing basically brought me back to being a composer, because I was stuck in Nashville artist, songwriter mode for decades, not even writing necessarily my own songs all that much. I was mainly writing for other songwriters and other artists. And I had put my music absolutely on the back burner. Sometimes I did make an album of my jazz stuff back in around 2011 and thought that was the beginning of really everything. And getting back to my music. But what happened was the music business that I ran just took off even more in the first part of the 2010s. And so if I wrote a song for myself, it was few and far between. And I started to lose touch with who I was as a person, because the composer in me was so strong. And like I said, you've probably heard this story if you've watched any of the videos about sync licensing and my story with that. I talk about how that happened, how I heard a podcast, and the minute I heard it, I knew that what I needed to do was get back to writing more music, and it was mainly because of a podcast about sync licensing. And from that moment, I knew that I had to get into licensing, because they were talking about taking the songs you wrote and putting them into film, and there being a back end, which I had never seen a back end. I'd seen some royalties from radio before, but I had never really seen a back end in music. And so, especially when they started talking about how much licensing paid for television and for movies, but especially commercials and advertising, I was like, wow, I'm in the wrong business. And it would get me back to being a composer. I started thinking of all the songs that I already had, all the songs that I had composed and never done anything with, that were just sitting on albums or sitting in my computer or in my mind. I started thinking about songs and genres and styles that I could do and make more music and compose more. And I just got, it's like when you realize something you already knew and you realize it again, and something in your head just clicks and you go, yes, that is where I need to go. It sounded like so much fun versus working with the artists, which I'm very happy that I always worked with these artists and had them paying me. I mean, I'm certainly grateful for that. But I was always working for someone else who was making the music decisions at the final call of the song. Even if I did get to co-write it or write it, but my personal composing, my personal producing of my own compositions and arranging, all of that had taken a backseat, and licensing instantly turned the car around. Not literally, because I was headed in a direction, but it turned the whole, don't make me turn this car around. I mean, seriously, it turned the whole thing, and instantly I was back in composer mode in my head. I even came up with a new production company called Positive Spin Songs, and it is to this day becoming the focus of where all my music is being made. I have other sites, of course, other brands, but Positive Spin Songs is really the music production company for my licensing work. And so that is basically where I am focusing on and trying to get stuff out to libraries through there. I started lining up songs, and I still am lining up songs, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of songs, to get them recorded, to get them out. My mind was on composing again, and I felt completely me again. Do you ever wonder what happened to you as a composer? You've got all these things going on, and you just can't get back to it. Well, for me, it was realizing that licensing might be a focus that would get me composing. We have to have something to compose on. We need some kind of, if not a deadline or a brief, which I'll talk about in a minute, we have to have something that focuses us back on our composing. And so for me, that was licensing. And so I was about to start a master's in music focusing in musicology. Well, I asked if I could change that to music composition. And in the fall of 2018, I formally started studying under a master composer at UCF, and had just gotten there from New York. And for the next few years, completely composed things I never would have thought I would have ever made. And that, plus the entire time Positive Spins Songs was growing, I was getting my first songs made that were what I wanted to make. I was getting partners in songs. We'd produce them together, and then eventually I pitched them to an exclusive sync library that was tied with BMG and is a huge library, and I've already had syncs, and all this kind of stuff has happened with that. Then another library came along, and then another one, and still another one this year I pitched an album to, and they like it. So I've got a fourth library and then a fifth one. So I do, by the way, have a video about sync licensing and my success in it recently. I'll be putting that up on the Make Music Income channel here in the next week. But the purpose of this video, purpose of the story, this long meandering story that you're sitting here listening to for no apparent reason, is to tell you how much of a difference music licensing made in bringing me back to composing, the place that I always wanted to be, the place that since I was 13 I wanted to be. But when you're in your 30s and people start offering you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to produce their albums, you're like, hey, that's fun. That's music money. You know, I'm getting paid to produce music. And so I did it. And I had a great producing career in Nashville with the top session players and studios and everybody, and all of which are still working for me, by the way, on my licensing music. But I'm very grateful for that career, but it sidelined me. It kept me away from composing. It kept me away from arranging and doing all the things that I wanted to do. So maybe you've been sidelined too by something. Maybe it's work, maybe it's life, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's other music job things that you think are great. Or I had lunch with Dave Croft yesterday, and he talked about the fact that he's not doing live stuff anymore because it was taking too much time away from some of the other things. And so maybe you've been here, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Something or all these things have taken you away from composing. And I'm here to tell you there is a road back. And that road is, well, maybe that road is this channel. Maybe that road is the Mastermind. Maybe the Mastermind could be something that you come into and we do together. But I'm here to tell you that so far, and really not even monetarily, sync licensing and licensing in general has changed my life completely and brought me back to being a composer again. It freed me and gave me a purpose to compose, and now is leading to income. So that's what I wanted to say about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. I'll probably shoot a little bit more on this when my picture is a little better. Today, since we're going to be just listening and the picture is not such a big idea, let's listen to some songs and kind of move to our first song today. The first song is by Ian, and I know Ian is in here. Let's see what people are saying in the chat before we get to Ian. Arco, you're late. I can't believe you're late, Arco. Having exams tomorrow was preparing. Well, that's okay. Arco is busy in school, in college. So being a professor myself, people call me Professor Copeland at school. I think it's so funny. I think I should have like some kind of, there should be like a top hat and I don't know, some kind of suit or something I wear. I don't wear a suit. What you see is probably about as dressed up as I'll get to teach. Marley Music is in the house. Good to see you, Marley Music. So yeah, Arco says tomorrow is his last exam, and then he's free after that, and then doing months of studies in 2 days, and then we're going to be doing some work together, aren't we, Arco? So excited for everybody who is going to be in here. Let's go ahead and cue up the first song here and listen. We're going to listen to remind me of your last name. I saw it up here. In Harker. I didn't get his last name when I was putting this thing together here. So yeah, let's listen to this first song here and see what it sounds like. And let's make sure we're getting sound. And you will be our guinea pig here for sound. So here we go. This is Sleigh Ride by Ian Harker. Here we go. Very nice job, Ian. I forgot to read his notes here. He said he wrote this some years ago, but only finished it this year. It's in a very 1950s vintage light orchestral style. Anyway, I'm just starting out writing music again, kind of the theme of today, after a career elsewhere, and exploring the possibility of making tracks for Pond 5, etc. And I'd sure appreciate any folks, any feedback from you. Well, my first feedback is you need to get this to libraries, Ian. I have a song. I did some. I have a album that's kind of retro. It's called "It's Time for Christmas Again," and it has a lot of these kind of retro-y type of sounds in it, orchestrally, but also just generally singing and stuff like that. Marley says, "Bravo." But Ian, I would really suggest that you look into a library I'm getting ready to review on Make Music Income. It's called Crucial Music, and they have accepted a song like this from me. It's more of a vocal song, but it has a very similar type of orchestral setting. And absolutely, you might want to check them out. They look for these kind of things for television shows, and they show you where they pitch to. I just had a Christmas song pitched to an ABC primetime show that we watch, and that's kind of cool. I haven't had that experience yet of hearing one of my songs in a show, but I'm this close. It's being pitched to those shows, and that was kind of the idea from the beginning with licensing, was that I would create songs. And one day I've had a dream about it, a specific dream that we're sitting in front of our television watching TV, and one of my songs comes on behind a scene or something like that. So absolutely. Yeah, not just, Linda says, I can see Jimmy Stewart decorating a Christmas tree here. Sure. But remember, there are shows being shot in every decade and every century that there is, even in pretend worlds. But there are certainly, if you remember the Marvel show that came out with WandaVision, it was all set in the 50s for the first few episodes. And, something like this would have really fit in there if they were decorating a Christmas tree. So absolutely. Let's see, Mixed Club says, reminds me of holidays in the house when I was a kid. My dad got Christmas music on Firestone Records. So yeah, you need to be pitching this, my friend. I agree. And I would, you might want to change the name to something other than Sleigh Ride, since there's a very famous song called Sleigh Ride, and I've already produced several other songs called Sleigh Ride. I mean, and written a song called Sleigh Ride. It's a pretty it's a pretty used name. It's pretty ubiquitous of a name. So you might like I wrote a song, and I'm calling it "Going on a Sleigh Ride," but even that I'm not sure how original it is. Do a search around, YouTube and stuff for think of another title. I would use Sleigh Ride in the title, but what I would do is probably figure a way to do, a winter sleigh ride or something like that. I don't know, a winter vacation sleigh ride or winter sleigh, something else that other than just Sleigh Ride, since there is a very, very famous song called Sleigh Ride that everybody thinks of. All right, very good start to the listen here. Let's go on to the next song. And he says, as he tries to get back to GarageBand, GarageBand works great. And as you can tell, I don't know if you use Logic, but boy, it looks just like Logic. There is almost no difference in GarageBand and Logic in the way it looks and works. And so very, very nice way they are kind of putting together a Logic Lite for people who own any kind of Mac. You get it for free. It's a really cheap app on your iPhone or your iPad. But on the Mac itself, on this MacBook Air, it looks just like Logic. So a great compositional tool for you if you are down a DAW. You don't have a big DAW, but you do have a Mac. There's no reason you shouldn't be using GarageBand. Okay, let's listen to our next song. Is by Ray Gunn. It's called Somewhere Out There It's Christmas. And let me find my notes about what Ray said. He said, I made this song and put it out for feedback in the SML community, which is Daniel Carzales community on stock music licensing, our friend Daniel. And he said if I add sleigh bells, it would be a great Christmas song. So I did. I hadn't considered this to be a Christmas song, but I added some sleigh bells and tubular bells as well, and I guess it works. Thought I'd share this with you. Okay, Ray. Well, thank you so much for adding this song in today. Let's listen to Ray Gunn, Somewhere Out There. It's Christmas. Cool. All right. Some things about this, Ian. I like the song. I like the way it is structured, where you have this A section and then you have this B section that goes into a different area for a minute, and then you come back into the B section, the A section again, and then you add the guitars. My thoughts would be, my thoughts. I'll get into other people's thoughts. Let me give you my thoughts first, and I think I can just remove this for now. My thoughts would be that it goes on. It seems to go on a little long at first. I feel like that it's one of those 4-bar loop songs that repeats over and over, and not enough stuff is added, and it doesn't grow enough. I mean, it's very nice sounding and Christmassy sounding in some ways, but I think eventually it gets a little tiring, and this is something I have to teach to students all the time, is the fact that we've got to add to what we're doing and let it build, rather than the whole point behind the whole 4-bar, 8 bars, and a cloud of dust composing style is that you are bringing in different elements all the time. And I felt like it was just a little stagnant there and just the same thing over and over, and we knew it was. I think you have to hide that very well. You have to be careful when you watch my friend Steve on his Production Music Academy videos. He'll show you how he builds things, and it doesn't sound like it's a 4-bar phrase. Now, I'm not a 4-bar phraser necessarily. I am a person who will use a loop to play to all the way through, but some of this felt a little repetitive at the beginning. I like the middle part, the B section, but I felt the B section there were some rhythmic elements that were kind of either if it's MIDI, it's not quantized to my liking, at least. I'm a pretty strict person about timing, and there's almost no excuse, even for recorded stuff, not MIDI, but even recorded guitar and drums and things, for them not to be lined up in the song. But I think it's a nice section, the beat section, and I liked it. I think you might even be able to get to it a little quicker, and because I think the whole song. Let's see what was the time of the song. The whole song was 2:30. Well, that's not too bad. Here's the problem: it felt longer than 2:30, and than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then at the end, the last A section, I think the guitar just dominates a little too much. Now, if this is for a Headbanger Christmas or something like that, that's fine. But it starts out like a Lifetime Christmas song, and it ends up like a rock Christmas. And that electric guitar just, if we were listening to that in the car, and I was with my wife, she would shout out next. Now, she's not shouting out next, like go to the next song, because she doesn't like, because it's not good, but it's because she's listening to Christmas music, and she wants the Christmas music to be light and Christmassy and fun. And I think that heavy guitar at the end, it's either too loud, it could be an undercurrent maybe, and maybe not be the lead thing. Oh, also the other thing I want to say is the front end. There were some bass choices that I'm not crazy about that went along with those chords. Now, it was a little hard to hear. Now that you've added all the bells and things like that, it's a little hard to hear what the chords are doing. But I noticed some bass sounds that didn't seem that they were lining up with the chords very well. And this is something I see also a lot when I am teaching of people and for many composers. Remember to try to keep your bass as the root of the chord, as the bass note. If you've got a C, let's keep the bass on a C. And so if we're going, bass doesn't need to experiment too much, because when you start to experiment with the bass too much and you're like, it can start to get kind of fat, kind of thick down in the bottom end, and the bottom end needs to be clean. And sometimes I think I also teach that you really don't need to be playing any chords or certainly no chords with your bass, unless it's a bass soloish type of thing. But I also teach that there don't need to be chord notes below middle C. There just don't. I mean, maybe if you've got an inversion where you have the 5 underneath middle C, or even something like that. But once you get into the C below middle C, there shouldn't be chordal things happening. It just gets messy and murky. And I think I heard a little bit of that in the first part of this. Anybody else have any thoughts? That was a little long-winded there, Ray, sorry. But Dre Dream says, totally different style. My proposal, the drums are much too hectic. Also says, sometimes I'm a bit shy to write here my honest opinion about a song because I know how much effort and love composer. I don't want to annoy or discourage anyone. There's a difference between annoy and discourage and give constructive criticism. So if you have constructive criticism, I don't think there's anything problem with that. Drums are too hectic. That's not a bad comment. That's not a discouraging comment. And for instance, I had a comment on my other channel today that just wasn't helpful. Listen, if you don't like me, you can. There's no reason to say anything. It's like your mother always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But I don't mind when people say, I think you're wrong about this particular thing. Here's my experience. That I welcome. But if you just say you don't like me and I'm an idiot or whatever, I'm not going to keep that comment up there because it doesn't help anybody. It only discourages me, and it only hurts and it doesn't help anyone who's reading these comments. And I think the comments in this chat is very important. Leandro says, Audio Jungle always rejected my songs, which the drive in my guitar went over 9 o'clock, except with real rock tunes. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. You're saying that the guitar is a little overbearing at the end, and so I think that could be a mix issue. I'm also just not a fan of that guitar in this particular type of song, where it's very jingle belly, it's very sleigh ride-ish, similar to In Song. It could be that way. I think this song needs to lighten up. Okay, Marley says construction's okay. I agree. I like the construction of it, the ABA format that you've got going on here. The only time I do chords below middle C is I'm using a VST guitar. Yeah, guitars might be a different type of thing. And Marley says we're here to learn. Yeah, and so any comments you have that are not positive, they're fine as long as they're helpful. You know, constructive criticism is the key to this channel, and I want the things that I say to be helpful to you, not certainly not destructive to you or demoting anything you've done or discouraging it at all. This channel absolutely is all about encouragement. Actually, composer encouragement is probably the main thing I want to do on this channel, even more than teaching you specific composing things. This channel really is about composer encouragement and just sharing my life as a composer with you and what I am doing. Not necessarily, if you want to know how I'm making money, there is a Make Music Income channel about that. But this is really about my story, about how my story relates to you, and then how I can help you with your compositions and give you constructive criticism. Arco says, I was exploring motifs and expanding them. Any tips? Might be out of context. Yes, that's out of context right now. We'll talk about that ourselves, Mr. Arco. All right. So Ray, thank you so much for sending that out. I like this song. I think this song can be worked on a little bit. I'm not sure where you are with it. Sometimes I feel like when I show somebody a song, I'm like, hey, it's done. I'm not messing with it anymore. Daydreams has said, I felt a bit bored with this song because of the 4-bar repetitions. Yeah. I felt that too at the beginning. I know Daniel, part of what he teaches, and a lot of people in the stock music game teach the 4-bar repetition style as a way to quickly teach and show people how to do things. I just think sometimes it gets repetitive, and after a while, it just is you're going to lose people who might want to use this for licensing. All right, so let's get back to listening here. Our next song, banner please, is Mr. Mike Fox, who sent me On Christmas Morning. And let's see what Mike has to say about this. Cue him up here. Mike said to me, this started simple on my acoustic, but turned into this with me trying to sound like a choir. Thank you if you have any tips for improvement. Well, we do our best. Let's listen to Mike Hawks On Christmas Morning. Here we go. Okay, so Mike, let's talk about this. Um, Many good things in this. Maybe too many good things in this. There is such a thing as too many sections in a song that it's a little. I use this word all the time, and it's a. I use the word uh, meandering or just a little bit. Oh, what's the word I use all the time? Uh, Rambly. We're and not in a. Sometimes when I use the word rambly, I mean it's like you're just playing stuff. Stuff that doesn't seem to go together, and the structure is and there's not much structure, and that's not the problem here. There's a lot of structure. The problem is there's too many structures. I feel like you have an A and then a B section, like a chorus section. That's nice. And by the way, in that first chorus section, I would suggest some light jingle bells in there, just behind the thing. I think some jingle bells would work really good in there. Um, and then we get into. I knew eventually we'd be getting. Mike Hawks is a guitarist, and he is a '70s '80s guitarist guy too. And so I knew we were going to be getting, just like Ray's song, we were going to be getting to some guitar soloing at some point. Now I don't think that this one overdoes it with the guitar soloing. But my problem is all the sections. I think if it depends on what you're looking to do with this song. If you're just putting this out on Spotify, you can do whatever you like with it. But if your goal is to get this into licensing at all, I think you're going to have to simplify its structure, stay with the ABA format that you have going on. I think the end part where you're singing, I think there was a comment here. I think Shane said the same thing. I don't think he says, not sure the vocals at the end add much to the song. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if there's a reason. I mean, not that I don't like the words, but it's just that it comes out of nowhere kind of, and it doesn't, I know you're trying to build this up, but really for people to use this in a TV show or a movie as background type of sound for Christmas or whatever, they're not going to be interested in vocals coming in like that, and unless it's maybe a Christian movie or something, and it's running over the credits or something like that. But I still think we get off base once we start getting into all the solo sections, and it starts turning into a pretty long song here. And you've got, I mean, it's only 3 minutes, so it's not that long. But again, sometimes things feel long. If we feel like we're in sections where did this come from? Oh, now we're in a new section, and then we've got this whole thing happening with the vocals at the end, and the singers and Jesus, and that's as you know, I am also in the Christian and gospel space, so I don't have any problem with that kind of thing. But it just comes out of nowhere, and it just doesn't. TSO vibe, TSO. Is that Trans-Siberian? Is that what you're talking about? Leandro says a bit of a shift in the mood can be difficult to sync. Agreed with Linda. It sounds like a horror show. I missed a comment back here. Let me go back to some of the first comments. There's a lot of people have saying that. Okay. Ark says nice guitar, nice motif. Yeah, I like the motif at the beginning. I think that's the beauty of this song. The A and the B section at the beginning, I think, is the best part of this song. And I think using those two with maybe some light guitars, solo stuff behind that. Daydream says, nice song, nice guitar, but I miss the Christmas feeling. Yeah, I agree with that. Linda says, sounds a little bit mysterious as if it had drifting minor home key. The epic guitars reminds me of Dune from the early 80s. That's awesome. Yeah, my first thought at the beginning was it has a touch of a Halloween song. I don't know. I think it could get Christmassy, especially when you get into that chorus, that first chorus. I could add a little jingle bells and you'd be just fine there. But I see what you're saying. He says he's going for a Trans-Siberian Orchestra type thing, which is those things grow into great big orchestrated and choral and guitar and all that kind of stuff. The problem here, I think, Mike, is that I don't think that this has that that size. It doesn't have that grand size of things in it. Even though you're adding some orchestral elements and things like that, it still feels too rock ballad to me a little bit. And again, that kind of um, hey, not that there's not 70s and 80s shows. Stranger Things and all those kind of shows are using things that might have elements of things like this. But I just think you'd have more luck as a Christmas piece by keeping it light like the first sections, because then we get into like a C section and then that whole, I don't know. One thing I need to check on this is if the chorus at the end is similar to the chorus up here. So we've got this almost like a James Bond cool thing. Now let's listen to the end. Yeah, it's like a totally different kind of chorus to me. And so for that reason, I feel like it's just a section that's too different from everything else. And I see that you're making it very big and artistic. And again, if this is an artistic song and your goal is for this to be artistic and you want this to be Trans-Siberian Orchestra, it's probably going to need more production. It's probably going to need more players. Let me just say this real quickly to everybody. I think we are all a little, we fall to prey, and some of you might not like this comment that I'm about to say, but I think we fall to prey to working all alone and trying to do everything ourselves when we probably should find some help to do things. Now, I know what you're saying. I'm not making any money on this. Why would I spend money on it? Well, I don't know. If you thought that about building a house and you decide to build it all yourself and with nobody else's help, you'd either have to be one of the best builders in the world, or it would take you years, if not many years, or eventually you have to hire specialists in some areas: plumbing, electric, roofing, insulation. Someplace you've got to hire people sometimes, and I think we're not bringing in helpful pros to help us on these things. I do this every day. As a matter of fact, the song I'm going to play for you next is a song where I had a drummer and a drummer and a guitar player from my jazz group play on this, and they're both in Nashville. And so I knew what it needed. It needed a certain thing that I couldn't do. I don't play guitar, and I needed a real guitarist to play on it. You wouldn't have that problem, Michael. But I needed a real jazz drummer, because I could play jazz drums, but I wanted the real feel of a jazz drummer. And so so those are my thoughts. I think this song is either you've got to take it up to 11, as we say, to the next level with quality, with orchestral, with everything. If you want to hit TSO, Trans-Siberian Orchestra sound, you need to take this up to another level and add more things. And it may be beyond what you are able to do yourself. I'm not. I don't know all of your abilities. Your songs are great. Your guitar work is always great. But I think sometimes there is more that we need. I hire singers all the time, and I don't sing everything myself. As a matter of fact, most of the stuff that I've had licensed is not me singing. That's just something to say to all of you composers to think about spreading out and finding help. There's soundbetter.com. There's me with lots of musicians and studios and engineers and orchestral people and programmers and everything that I have available in Nashville. Sometimes you're just going to have to make productions that aren't only you. And so that's one of the things I want to talk about there. let's see. Red has a comment. A bit overcompressed, I think. It seems like there's no headroom in the end when it needs to pop. Something felt like it was being held back. So there's a comment for you also to look at as you go on here. Mike, thanks for the thing, and you are welcome for all the comments. I hope these are helpful to you guys. We're trying to be helpful and constructive, but also truthful. There's no reason to just say, oh, you're awesome. What did I hear yesterday? I heard a comment that said, you're doing great, or you're doing fine. That what you're doing is just fine is one of the worst comments or least helpful comments. I may be getting that quote wrong, but, or no, good job. Good job is one of the worst comments that you could ever, the most hurtful and unhelpful comments to tell somebody. If you're not giving them any kind of helpful advice, helpful constructive criticism, is the only way you're going to grow. And I always expect it from the people that I do work for. But hopefully I am doing great work for people. So, all right, let's listen to the last song. And the last song is, as usual, a song that I was playing a little bit when we started today's show. And this is a jazzy version I did last year of We Wish You a Merry Christmas. I created it by just making a piano melody. The piano melody you hear in the lead is what I wrote to a click track. And then I sent that, only the click track. I may have had like a little loop going on like a hat or something. And I sent that to a drummer. And then he sent back his part. And then I sent that to a guitar. So it's a little like and I think I played the bass as well. And so it has a trio feel, like a guitar trio, well, I guess a quartet feel with the piano doing the piano's not being anything crazy, but it is playing the melody, and that's how this started, as a melody over top of, I think, probably a bass. I probably did have the acoustic bass done because I do a lot of acoustic bass myself. So this is We Wish You a Merry Christmas, and I wish you a Merry Christmas, and I hope that you're having a good month so far. My wife put up the Christmas tree lights yesterday and stuff outside, so it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, but this isn't that long. This is We Wish You a Merry Christmas, and see what you think of this. This, by the way, is in a library. It got signed last year. is it a Christmas song if you don't reference Jingle Bells in it? If you don't reference Jingle Bells in it somewhere, is it really a Christmas song? Uh, yeah, some really terrific players. I'd love to take complete credit for that, other than producing it. Um, Daydream says, "How long did you need to finish the song?" Well, I did my part in probably an hour. I sent it to a drummer who probably spent about an hour on it, and he sent it back to me. And then I put it together and sent it to the guitar player, who also sent me, probably took an hour to do it, I would say. And then I got it back. It did not require much mixing, less than an hour probably, and kind of mixed itself. And there we go. Yeah, I love brushes and Nashville ending. Mark Baldwin on guitar, Scott Williamson on drums, if you know any of those names. That guitar was cool. I think it was Mark Baldwin. It might have been also Brian Fullen. I can't remember now. Both of those guys do great jazz drums for me all the time. Arco says, guitar was cool, thanks. Leandro says, nice arrangement, thank you. You know, again, it's easy to sound great when you have great people playing along with you. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but we spend a lot of time, and listen, no one is more guilty than me of sitting in a room with my MIDI stuff. I just downloaded a new MIDI thing today. I'm getting ready to go in there and upload download the upgrade to Easy Drummer 2, and I'm thinking about getting Superior Drummer because I want to continue, even though I have great drummers that will even sometimes partner on these. I think both of those guys partnered with me on that song. Shane says, awesome arrangement, great vibe, thank you. But I reach out to players and I have them play and partner. And that's another thing you can do is find great musicians and or people, pay them and or offer them part of either the back end or the front end. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to offer licensing points and all that kind of stuff to people. And that's what I do. It's what I've always done. That was the key to my producing in Nashville, to the quality things that I was doing. And it is the key now to producing quality things that get signed by libraries, is to not be afraid to use people when I need them. If I can produce something myself, then I will do it. If I can produce it and I say it just needs this, then I will do it. I try to stay away from anything trying to just crank stuff out that is going to be fine, because fine is not going to do it in the landscape of licensing in the competitive fields. Even when you get into stock music licensing, that is even becoming competitive, and you've got to be careful with that kind of thing. Well, folks, that's about all I have today. I wanted to remind you again, because you have asked, people have asked me if they can buy me a cup of coffee. And you can't buy me a cup of coffee because I don't drink coffee, because coffee tastes like dirt. But so does tea, to be fair. But if you want to buy me a cup of tea, you can go. I just made the site last night, so I hope it's good. The page, makemusicincome.com/tea. And you can find a way to support me if you'd like through my nonprofit, Creative Heart. And I am really considering in the future turning this channel and both my channels into only Creative Heart supported channels. In other words, if you want an ebook, if you want a course, if you want a mastermind, if you want anything, you can just contribute to my nonprofit. That might be the way I do this. I've been very uncomfortable with trying to monetize these channels and just do videos to sell courses and all that kind of stuff. And I have to charge for my time, I know, but at the same time, my heart is to do this kind of work. Otherwise, I wouldn't be spending these time. I mean, Daydream says, why are you spending all this time doing all this stuff? Well, I wouldn't do it if I didn't want to. And if I didn't think that giving you this helpful information was important. Sorry, my throat has gotten kind of junky. So I really think that I'm looking more and more, because I like to find ways to do things that other people aren't doing. I did my Nashville experience my production company in a way that nobody does it. I've done these channels in a way that nobody does it. And I'd like to do the monetary side in a way that nobody does it. So think about that and tell me what you think about that sometime. And I hope that you guys have a good day today. Mixed Club says dynamics were spot on. Yeah. Again, when you have the best in the business playing for you, it's hard to go wrong. And that's why in Mike, when you're talking about stuff like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra and you're trying to get to that next level with things, sometimes reaching out and having other people just brings a dimensionality. And yes, I know no one has any money to pay anybody. There's trade-out possibilities. There's things you could do for them. You could do things for them that they can't do. You could provide guitar for people that could provide orchestral arrangements or whatever. And I have orchestral stuff too, but I don't always do it myself. I sometimes hire it out. All right, everybody. Well, that is going to do it for the show today. It's long enough, I think. Certainly, if this wasn't long enough for you. And there'll be enough people who complain it's too long. But thanks so much for being here today. I'm going to end the broadcast. Go to buy me a cup of tea if you want to. And otherwise, have a great day today. And make sure if you're interested in the Make Music Mastermind, the Hello Composers Mastermind, I should say, to just go up and go to makemusicincome.com/mastermind. That is where I am has all the information for both. Hello Composer site is underway, and I'll have a whole different kind of site there for people. And I have an ebook underway for Hello Composers, all sorts of things coming. But for now, you can just go to makemusicincome.com/mastermind and find out how to be part of our mastermind. We're looking for composers. That's been the most interested one so far. So look through there and give us an email and let's talk about which one you fit in. Thanks very much for being here, folks. Today I'm going to end the broadcast now. Everybody wave. Everybody say bye. Thanks for coming today. Linda, thanks for being here. Ian, would they take just one song? You know what? As a matter of fact, he's asking about Crucial Music, who I suggest he send. They only take 3 songs at a time. So yes, they will take one song, but you have to audition for them first and get into their program first. I would send them the song. I would send them that song you showed me and just say, hey, I'm looking to get in your catalog. They might require a certain number of songs. So really to get in any libraries, remember folks, you need to have 5 to 10 songs to show people. People aren't going to necessarily be ready to work with you as a songwriter if they don't think you have any songs, which is another reason why we have the Hello Composers Mastermind for people who are wanting to get back into songwriting. So Ian, if you're interested in that, please give me an email about that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Go see our mastermind. Go to the site. Do anything you like. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next time here on Hello Composers. Goodbye, composers. Goodbye. See you later. Bye-bye.